BRZ. BRZ. What's up, everybody? This is BS for Build. I'm Chris. We are here looking at the BRZ, and it's not as shiny as it's supposed to be. That's right. Paint job number 2 was a failure. Let me tell you why. We painted the car at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then moisture sat in, and teeny little water droplets landed everywhere on the hood and everywhere that is the top surface. So it came down from the clouds, thanks a lot, Oregon, all the way down here, landed all over the car. The water droplets microscopically screwed up the gloss, and the car ended up matte black. Now I know what you're thinking. The idea was not to have a matte black car. The idea was to have a black orange peely car with matte black wide body parts. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing so much so I let this paint dry for 3 days, and I just went down to the hardware store and I went and bought 2x4s to build a paint booth around this car so I could paint it for the 3rd time. But then I'm looking at this car and I really do like the matte black. I like the curves that it has in the back here, and with matte black that really accentuates them. And I like that it has no orange peel in the matte black. I really like satin black, actually. It's satin, it's not really matte. So here's the problems that I have with this. I wanted to paint the wide body parts satin black, not the car. I wanted the car to be glossy. I also can't reproduce this satin black look because it was like a weather reacting with the paint thing, so I can't do this again. So when I spray the wide body parts, I have no idea how they're gonna look compared to this paint. Other issue that I have, my Camaro is supposed to be satin black. I don't wanna have every single car I have be satin black. That's kind of strange. So I'm thinking through some of these things. I honestly, at the time of filming this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. There are some like bigger water damage spots that I'm not cool with. So I grabbed some 1000 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna wet sand a small part of this car and kind of see how things turned out. I'm also gonna, there are some glossy parts. I'm gonna wet sand some of those and see if I can dull down the gloss to something that matches, because I need the whole car to match no matter what I'm gonna do. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. The weather stuck me in a really strange spot, but I wanted to share it with you guys. Clearly, everybody knew I didn't know what I was doing when it comes to paint. And you know, like, I technically know. Like, I know a lot of things you guys are commenting on in the thing, like, oh, bigger air pressure. Well, I don't have a shop. I don't have a, like, 500-gallon air compressor tank. I just... Anyways, I'll edit that out. I don't want to be negative, but, you know, I got what I got, and I got the tools that I got, and it came out pretty damn good, but then the weather screwed me. So, I do have the stuff to build a paint booth. I just don't know if I'll use it. Anyways, I'm gonna try sanding this thing. All right, I've sanded a little bit off. They always say sand in an inconspicuous spot. Like on a short car, you should definitely do the roof. That way everybody can see how it turns out. No, I'm just kidding. Really, I should have sanded underneath somewhere, but like I said, I don't care. I'm gonna be repainting this if it doesn't turn out well. Now I'm gonna sand down a little bit of a glossy part and see if I can scuff it up a little bit. All right, I'm just gonna let that stuff dry and then I'll see how it turns out and make my decision on what I'm gonna do with the rest of this car. Okay, so the results were kind of what I should have expected. Let me show you what happened. This will give you guys a better idea of really what happens when the water lands on wet paint. If I can get my camera to focus in here. Okay, I think where it's focused in is we're gonna get, see what you see here is like all these little pits and these valleys. So every little droplet of water that lands, it creates a little ring around it with the gloss. It pushes the gloss out or something. It has a chemical reaction with the paint. So the paint wasn't totally dry when the moisture landed on it, and when I sanded this, it made it much more apparent. Well, the problem that's going to happen there is as weather takes its toll on this car, I would assume, and different, you know, things, I wash it a couple times and stuff like that. 1000 grit sandpaper isn't unlike the elements, you know, this stuff happens, and well, I don't want my paint to end up like that. That looks terrible. It looks like lizard scales. And down here where I took a glossy part and tried to dull it out, of course, since there's orange peel everywhere, basically the second coat didn't really have that as much orange peel, but the orange peel that was underneath it, really, it was so high on the edges. The high points were so high that even when I sanded through it and stuff like that and resprayed, I still had orange peel. So although you can't feel this, it feels smooth, but there's orange peel. So that looks like crap too. That being said, I think the only option is to paint this car again. I gotta say, I'm not that upset. I'm kind of excited. I mean, I like painting. This is kind of a fun project, and you know, I want to get it right. So it's a third time's a charm. 3 coats of paint. They didn't mean 3 full paint jobs, but you know, third paint job's a charm. So I still have leftover materials. Everything to do this is free for me. All the materials that I used from the last spray, I got more than enough to spray this whole car again. So the next step is, I'm not gonna screw up with this whole weather thing again. It's not hot here in Oregon. There's a lot of humidity, there's a lot of moisture. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna add lots of filters and more moisture absorbing things in the lines of my air compressor. I'm gonna run a smaller gun so I don't have such air problems. I had air problems with the last paint job as well as the first one. It was actually pulling water out of the air, condensing it, shooting it through the line, and then out of my spray gun, which would then hit the car and create pits and look like crap. Again, it's an outdoor paint job, so I don't expect it to be perfect, but I don't want that to be happening. So more air filters in the line for the air compressor. I got a bunch of 2x4s and stuff. I'm just gonna build a big paint booth around this car. I'm kind of excited for that. I don't know why. Because we build shit. We build stuff, sorry. And then I'm gonna spray with a smaller spray gun that uses less air flow, so my air compressor's not being so hard run hard, so it's not such a burden on the air compressor. Poor air compressor. I should have bought a bigger one, but I can't lift a bigger one. I can't just mount one on the outside of my house. Like, that's not possible. So I wish I had a bigger air compressor, but I don't. If you're watching this, you're doing it at home, go to Home Depot and rent the biggest one that'll fit in your car. And it'll probably still be too small, so I'm sorry about that. I'm very excited. This third paint job is gonna be, it's gonna be killer. So the next step, I'm gonna wet sand this car, and things that I learned from the last time, wet sanding it by hand, totally the best way. The machine's burnt through some paint somewhere, left some leftover marks. I know where those are now, so I can sand them better. So I'm gonna wet sand this whole car down by hand, and then I'm gonna clean it, and then I'm gonna build a giant paint booth around it, and then we're gonna paint it. Boom! We're wet sanded. It only took like 2 hours. Wasn't even that long. Getting good at this. Maybe I'll paint this thing 5 or 6 times. I don't know. Anyways, you guys remember the next step from the last video. I gotta stop doing videos of the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. Promise. This is the last paint job, and this is what I'm gonna do. If this next paint job doesn't turn out good, I'm gonna wet sand it just like this again, and then I'm gonna spray clear coat over it, and I'm gonna keep it like this, and we'll call it the Swamp Thing, or the Swamp Monster from Scooby-Doo. So anybody asks me what color my car is, they'll be like, you seen Scooby-Doo? Anyways, I'm gonna get lunch, I'm gonna clean the car, I'm gonna build a paint booth around it. Hey everybody, look what I found. Jeff's back. Hi! Jeff's been working, and he had some time, so he's gonna help me build this structure around the car. And we're gonna have some fun, shoot the shit, drink some beers, and build a painting booth. Check it out.
Here we are. We used some pretty unorthodox means to frame up a structure to put plastic onto. Get the elements out while painting. That should be good enough for its job.
Borrowed a little bit of support from the neighbor's fence. I hope they won't complain. They haven't so far, so we should be fine. Alright, so the last thing we're gonna do. Jeff's hanging on it. You're gonna break it.
No, I'm going this way. It's strong this way.
Oh god, be careful. Last thing we gotta do is just wash the car. Obviously there's still wet sanding residue on it. I'll wash the car tomorrow. I forgot to buy a staple gun, so tomorrow I'll staple up the plastic and prep the car for paint.
Nice.
Peace.
Good to see y'all.
Welcome back. It is another day. It is painting day. We're ready to roll. The weather's playing ball, so I'm pretty excited. So I'm gonna roll out plastic and plastic wrap this whole thing. The car has been washed, so it's drying. Then we'll get it covered in plastic and we'll get the paint guns out and start mixing paint. Well, we're all set up. We got our paint booth up. One issue that I'm having right now is obviously the stuff's catching the wind. It's like a big sail, and I'm a little bit worried about the wind pushing this and it popping through some of the staples and then pushing into the paint after I paint it. That'd be really bad. But, you know, it's the time to paint. I'm just gonna have to go for it, and we'll see how it ends up when it dries. So let me show you on the inside. I've got the car all cleaned up. I'm gonna go over it with the tack rag and the air compressor and get everything off of it and it all cleaned up. But yeah, there's very little air moving around in here, which is good. So it is working, but my ceilings are a little low. But I think it'll do good, and it'll keep the air off of the moisture off the car when it's trying to dry. That's a big one. So next up, we're gonna paint. Oh my god! All right, paint booth. Most annoying thing ever. I am so frustrated right now. This was just so stupid. I built this thing and then the wind kicks up and it's ripping the plastic off in every single way. So it doesn't keep the wind off. And I guess it might keep the moisture off, but I don't think it'll even last till the night to keep the moisture off. So I got one coat of paint on the car. I'm calling it good. It looks like it's always looked, just kind of shiny and kind of shitty at the same time. I'm so frustrated with painting. I hate painting. So I'm gonna go reattach the roof to this thing, and then I'll show you guys inside. All right, we're inside the paint booth. The wind has calmed down a little bit. So same problems as always. The paint guns are really cheap. There's moisture in the lines. Well, there's crap in the air, and then there's moisture in the lines. Like for instance, one of these, I went to go hit it, and it just like little water droplets flew out of the gun. So frustrating. So there's some orange peel, but some of that will fade away. Picking up a nice contact high in here. I might hang out in here for a couple hours. But you know, I got a coat of paint on the whole thing. I don't think I forgot anywhere. Chair fell into the paint job, but it's keeping the plastic away from the car, so I'm keeping it. Sorry the filming's so crappy. I'm just so over painting at this point. I just don't care at all. So yeah, paint booth, kind of a fail. I think if you could do this inside a garage, it'd be great, but for out here, this was just, it's not helping keep the elements out. It's just funneling them all into one spot. And then what I'm really worried about is like later tonight when the car's trying to dry is one of those things, or these things, they rip down, plastic falls on the car, then I really have to, see that corner just ripped off. Ah! Anyways, I'll keep you guys updated. What's up everybody? We are back for the paint job round 3. The plastic structure stayed up overnight, so let me take you in and show you the car. Alright, so we're in here. The car made it out alright. Only problem is we had the same problem last time, just on a much smaller level. The roof lost a lot of its gloss. The trunk lid, this rear fender, you can see there's just water damage. What happened was, I think the moisture came off the ground here, went into the air, and then our roof and everything just, it didn't hold any of the moisture out. So it really doled out the paint a lot. I don't know what this is, but kind of screwed it up. But what I'm hoping is that I can buff some of this stuff out. And honestly, I'm not going to paint this car for a 4th time, so you can see it on the hood here. Anyways, I'm not going to paint this car for a 4th time, so it's time to just move on. So I'm going to tear down the paint booth and get ready to paint the wide body parts. They're all going to be a satin black, and the Camaro is also going to be a satin black. So I'm going to be painting the Camaro as well today, but I'm not going to include that in this episode. So anyway, sorry. So yeah, it's satin black painting day. We're going to paint all the wide body parts, and then we can start reassembling the BRZ, and we're going to paint the Camaro. I'm done! Everything's painted. Oh my god. Literally everything in my life is painted now. I just finished painting all the body kit parts. I didn't show you that because I was super tired of painting outside, so I painted those downstairs in my basement. Whew, that was a lot of paint fumes. It literally got so fumy that my eyes were burning. Probably should have been wearing eye protection, but whatever. So Camaro's painted satin black. Body kit parts are painted satin black. I'm so happy to be done with painting. I'm ready to put the body kit parts back on the car. So with that, I'm going to cut this episode here, so the next episode can be installing Rocket Bunny body kit part 2 for all you guys that want to know how to do that. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for the positive comments. It's been really inspiring. Just remember to follow us on Facebook if you want to get updates, facebook.com/bsforbuild. We're on Instagram, #bsforbuild. We got a website, bsforbuild.com. Thanks Jeff for visiting me and helping me set up this awesome structure that did nothing, but hey, who would have known. And please remember to like and subscribe. Peace.